Hey Georgetown, Janice here. So today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my acceptance story with Georgetown, as well as a little bit about the application process for Georgetown. So stay tuned. So essentially, Georgetown had always been on my radar. A lot of my family lives in the area. In fact, my parents also live down in DC. My family always made the effort to get back to DC at least once a year. Inevitably, when we'd visit our family, we'd also take walks around the Georgetown area and oftentimes wander on campus. In that respect, I really had a sense of familiarity with Georgetown going into it. So even at 6 years old, I knew I wanted to go to Georgetown. I just thought it would be a really distant dream, so didn't really think into it. Going into my junior year, I knew that I was really interested in government and history, and also wanted to go to a school that really emphasized these disciplines. Furthermore, I wanted a school that gave me the resources to really broaden my horizon in that respect. So basically, the summer going into my senior year, the Georgetown application opened up. As some of you may know, it's not on the Common App, it's its own thing altogether. That was the first essay I worked on because I knew I wanted to give myself ample time to work on this because I had been dreaming about this school for as long as I could remember. I remember probably the week leading up to my decision, if Georgetown was going to accept me or not, I was freaking out. I knew that Georgetown sent their admissions notifications via letter, so I was panicking about whether the letter would get lost in the mail or because my address is a little weird, I live in a community where we have a post office, no mailboxes, that somehow it would get lost or put into the wrong box or whatever. So on top of it, it was spring break for me, so I was just home sitting around, so I had really no distraction. My parents and brother and sister tried as hard as they could to distract me during this time, but I was like a literal vulture on College Confidential and other websites trying to see what people's, stats were, like did they get a letter yet, what they were thinking admissions was going to be like this year. I was absolutely consumed. One thing I actually did learn was that with these letters, because you need to pay, obviously, when you send a letter, the amount is contingent on the weight of the letter. So I knew that a thinner letter was going to be cheaper, like 47 cents, and then an acceptance letter, which would have more paper, would be around the 68 cents range. So I had my eyes on the prize for a 68 cents letter, but nothing was popping up on my search engine for my mail to see if any incoming mail was coming, so I really was in the dark on that one. But my mom and I went to the post office. We got there a little bit early. My post office has very limited hours, and considering the snow that had just come, it was hard for a lot of the staff and people to get to the post office. So essentially the postmaster walks in. He was just coming off of a flu and just returned to work, so the man felt terrible, which I feel really bad about, and was tired and had a boatload of mail to go through because a lot of it had gotten backed up. So my mom and I waited maybe an hour and a half. It was probably one of the nicest conversations I had ever had with my mom. She really tried to distract me. And I remember having a moment where I realized even though it's my dream to go to Georgetown, it's not the end of the world. That you're gonna be okay and you're gonna find a place you fit in and that you thrive in and are happy at. And I do think that's something that everyone needs to take into consideration during the college process, that you will end up where you need to go. He brings out this tub of mail that was our mail, and he said, all right, there's a Georgetown letter in here, because I had priorly mentioned, hey, do you see anything from Georgetown? Now, interestingly, as I said, I had a post office and a physical address, so I had a mailing address and physical, so there were two letters for me. And I remember picking up both letters and seeing the 68 cents. And I just remember being kind of like taken back. I was like, I think I got in, but I wasn't too sure. So I opened up the one letter and it said, congratulations, we've accepted your application. And I just remember sobbing, absolutely sobbing. And then my mom started to cry once I shouted I got in. And the two of us were sobbing, and I just shouted, this was my dream school. And then our postmaster, who really didn't know me, he starts to cry and is like, oh my God, this is beautiful, now I'm crying. So essentially the three of us were just crying in the post office alone. And then I remember leaving, I called my dad in the most incoherent way, cried, I got into Georgetown. And for me, I didn't have to deliberate if I wanted to go to Georgetown or not after. So once I got accepted, I knew that's where I was going. And in fact, once we got home, I had this sweatshirt that I got from Georgetown University years back that I decided my senior year, for whatever superstitious reason, I couldn't wear this shirt. I didn't want to like jinx anything, so I didn't touch the shirt all year. So when I was, calling all my relatives and saying I'm going to Georgetown, my mom went upstairs, grabbed the shirt and brought it down, and I remember just putting it on and thinking, this feels so right. This is it for me, which was such an exciting moment. But I'm so glad I ultimately did choose Georgetown, and it's been a wonderful ride. So thanks for listening, and Hoya Saxa.